Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a philosophy that really maps out a journey, one that takes you from the deepest parts of yourself all the way out to the entire cosmos. It's a massive vision for how we, as individuals, our society, and the universe are all deeply, fundamentally interconnected. Okay, so let's jump right in with a truly massive idea. The universe itself is seen as a product of a single, vast, cosmic mind. Now, this isn't just a poetic statement, it's the foundational principle here, that everything we see, everything we feel and experience, it all originates from the thought waves of one supreme consciousness. So, if everything is part of this huge cosmic mind, you gotta ask, what does that mean for us, for you and me as individuals? How do our own thoughts and actions fit into this grand universal picture? Let's break that down. So here's the core concept, right? We each have what's called our unit mind. That's us, the microcosm. And it's a part of the greater cosmic mind, the macrocosm. But here's the key difference. For us, our thoughts only sometimes turn into actions. For the cosmic mind, though, thought is reality. The entire universe is contained right within its consciousness. Now, what's really fascinating is this idea of a flow. We each create our own personal current of thoughts and desires. And the secret to success, to fulfillment, according to this philosophy, is to get our personal flow in sync with the great cosmic flow. If our longings are going against that current, well, that's when we really struggle to get where we want to go.
And the ultimate goal here, it's not about becoming some puppet of the cosmos. No, it's about merging your individual self with that universal consciousness. It's a beautiful image, right? The separation just dissolves. That tiny drop of self becomes one with the vast ocean of existence.
Okay, so how does this huge cosmic idea actually translate into practical day-to-day action? Well, it starts with the concept of service. And we're not just talking about charity work here. This is seen as a fundamental, essential part of the spiritual journey. So service is presented in two forms, and they're both seen as equally important. First, there's the internal work we do on ourselves for our own spiritual fulfillment. And then there's the external work we do for the good of all living beings. The idea is you can't really have one without the other. This one phrase just perfectly captures the core idea. Our own liberation and the welfare of the world are two sides of the very same coin. The logic is pretty clear. When you do that internal service, you purify your own mind, which in turn makes you so much more effective when you go out to serve the world. This brings us down to the very foundation of this whole philosophy, a clear guide for moral conduct. And look, these aren't just a list of rules to follow blindly. They're principles designed to help us build a better self, and by doing that, help build a better world. The central principle here is Dharma. Now, it's often translated as duty or righteousness, but this quote defines it as something much more fundamental. It's the very element that sustains our existence, just like water for a fish. If you leave it, if it goes, everything falls apart. And there's this fantastic story that just nails this point. A king who's totally bound by his dharma is forced to buy an idol of misfortune. As you can guess, one by one, the gods of wealth and fortune just flee his palace. But the king holds firm to his word. Finally, when Dharma itself tries to leave, the king stops it, basically saying, "Hey, I did all of this for your sake." And because Dharma is forced to stay, its presence makes all those other gods come rushing right back. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because this philosophy redefines some familiar concepts. Take ahimsa, or non-harming. It's argued here that true ahimsa isn't about being passive or hiding weakness. It's about not inflicting unjust pain, which, and this is important, includes the valorous use of force to resist an aggressor and protect what's right. It also applies a lot of nuance to something like truth-telling. The highest form of truth is benevolent truth. For example, if you have to tell your mother that her father has died, you don't just blurt it out while she's eating dinner. You might first say he's ill. You prepare her mind so she can bear the tragedy. In this view, compassion is a vital part of telling the truth. So, how do you scale up these individual moral principles? Let's zoom out from the individual and see how these ideas are designed to totally reshape society from the ground up, moving it beyond exploitation and toward a truly just world.
So, this philosophy has its own theory of history. It's called the social cycle, and it has 4 ages. The idea is that society moves from an age dominated by laborers to one ruled by warriors, then intellectuals, and finally, capitalists. The catch is that in each era, the ruling class eventually starts to exploit everyone else, which then forces a revolution and a shift to the next age. According to this framework, we're currently in the capitalist age, and it's criticized for creating systems where accumulating stuff becomes more important than its actual value. It creates a world where some, quote, roll in luxury, while others, deprived of a morsel of food, shrivel up and starve to death, bit by bit. So what's the alternative? Well, it's a vision for a society built on completely different principles. Economically, it calls for things like cooperative management and guaranteeing the minimum necessities for everybody. Socially, it's pushing for a real, deep universalism with equal rights for all and even a common world language to unite humanity. But you have to ask, who leads this new society? How do you keep it from just falling back into that same old cycle of exploitation? The answer proposed is a new kind of leader, the Sadvipra. These are basically spiritual revolutionaries, people who are deeply moral, have a universal outlook, and are dedicated to service. They're meant to guide society with wisdom so no single class can ever dominate again. And this is where it all comes together. We've gone from the individual's inner journey with the cosmic mind, to the moral conduct that builds our character, and finally to the complete restructuring of society. It's one unified, benevolent vision. The foundational belief here is actually pretty simple, but it's also profound. It's that we are all part of one single, indivisible human family. Things that divide us, like nation, race, or religion, are seen as artificial obstacles that we need to overcome. Our planet and all its resources are the common property of all living things, meant to be shared for the welfare of everyone. Which leads to the ultimate question, doesn't it? How do we actually make this grand, inclusive vision a reality? How do we get from a world full of division and exploitation to one of unity and mutual care? The answer given isn't some complex policy paper. It's a simple, direct call to action. And there it is, a clear, powerful, and you could say provocative appeal. It really just leaves us to think about our own role in all this. See, it's not just a political slogan, it's a spiritual one. It suggests that the path to a better world starts the moment we recognize our shared humanity and then decide to act on it together. So, what does that unity look like to you?